Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of US 5-cent coins, as some of these coins are rare and can make you rich overnight. In this video, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today. We're diving into one of the most thrilling discoveries in American coinage, an unexpected gem from the World War II era, the United States of America 5-cent coin from the year 1943. Now, at first glance, a 1943 nickel might not seem all that special. It's a coin that passed through the hands of millions of Americans during a time of global conflict and sacrifice. But here's the thing, what makes this particular coin extraordinary isn't just its age. It's the mystery behind its composition, the history it represents, and a few rare minting errors that have turned ordinary nickels into small fortunes. Let's take a step back to understand the world in 1943. The United States was deep in the throes of World War II, and resources like copper and nickel were critical to the war effort. The government needed these metals for military equipment, especially for making ammunition and weapons. So, in an unprecedented move, the U.S. Mint made a big change to its coinage. Instead of using the usual copper-nickel mix for nickels, they started using a special wartime alloy composed of silver, manganese, and copper. These wartime nickels, as they came to be known, were only produced between 1942 and 1945, making them stand out in American coin history. The 1943 5-cent coin is one of these. It carries the bold image of Thomas Jefferson on the front, with his Monticello estate on the back. But if you look closely, you'll spot something that instantly tells collectors this is a wartime issue. Right above Monticello is a large mint mark, either a P, D, or S. This was the first time in history that the Philadelphia Mint used a mint mark on a coin. So, why does this coin have collectors buzzing? While millions were minted, only a handful were produced with unusual errors or were struck under incredibly rare circumstances. Some 1943 nickels were accidentally struck on the wrong metal planchets, such as copper-nickel blanks left over from before the alloy change. These are known as transitional errors, and they are among the most valuable and exciting types of coin mistakes. Imagine holding in your hand a coin that was supposed to help fund a war, but instead became a numismatic legend simply because it wasn't supposed to exist in that form. That's the kind of story that keeps collectors up at night and treasure hunters scanning their change. Another reason collectors love the 1943 nickel is because of its silver content. That's right, these nickels actually contain 35% silver. Even in average condition, they carry a bit of intrinsic value because of that. But when you add historical importance, rarity, and a potential minting error into the mix, you get something truly special. Now, let's talk condition, because when it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. A heavily worn 1943 nickel might only be worth a few dollars, or the silver melt value. But an uncirculated coin, one that's been perfectly preserved since the day it was struck, can command serious attention in auctions. And then, of course, we have the unicorns. The ones that were struck in error. The ones that were struck off-center, on the wrong metal, or show double dies. These coins don't just interest casual collectors, they are chased down by serious numismatists, museums, and private investors alike. Over the years, a handful of these error nickels from 1943 have surfaced, and every time one does, the excitement is electric. Experts analyze every detail, from weight and composition to die markings, to determine whether it could be one of the few rare variations worth a staggering amount of money. So, if you happen to stumble across a 1943 5-cent coin in your old coin jar, don't overlook it. Take a close look at the mint mark. Weigh it if you can, and check for any signs of errors, misalignment, doubled images, or anything unusual. Because just maybe, you're holding on to something much more valuable than you thought. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. One incredibly rare 1943 5-cent coin, struck with an error and in stunning condition, has been valued at an astonishing $79,000. Yes, you heard that right. $79,000 for a nickel that someone once could have used to buy a bottle of soda. So, always keep your eyes open and your coin magnifiers close. You never know when history and a small fortune might be sitting in your pocket. Top 2, we're about to shine the spotlight on a coin that might seem ordinary at first glance, but has taken the numismatic world by storm. We're talking about the 1964 United States of America 5-cent coin, better known as the Jefferson Nickel. Now, before you rush to dismiss it as just another old nickel, let me stop you right there. This coin has secrets that could turn an everyday find into a once-in-a-lifetime payday. Let's travel back to 1964. It was a year of major change and historical importance for the United States. The Civil Rights Act was signed into law, the Beatles had just arrived in America, and the country was undergoing a massive coin shortage. To address the shortage, the U.S. Mint cranked up production, and 1964 became one of the highest mintage years for nickels in American history. But here's where it gets interesting. While the Mint made hundreds of millions of these nickels, not all of them were created equal. Most 1964 nickels were struck using standard dies and were made from the usual 75% copper and 25% nickel composition. But in the chaos of mass production, mistakes happened, rare mistakes. And for coin collectors, those mistakes are where the magic begins. Some 1964 nickels were struck with older dies that had been overused, creating what collectors call die deterioration doubling. Others featured more dramatic double die errors, where elements like the date or the word Liberty appear slightly doubled, something you can spot with a good magnifying glass and a trained eye. These double die varieties are extremely rare and highly sought after, but the real treasures? Those are the full-step nickels. You see, on the reverse side of the coin, you'll find Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's historic home. The steps leading up to Monticello are a key detail that many coins fail to show clearly due to worn dies or poor striking pressure. But when a 1964 nickel displays all 5 or 6 steps in crisp, sharp detail, it qualifies as a full-steps nickel. These are rare. Very rare. And when you combine that full-step designation with flawless condition, things start getting very exciting. Now, let's talk about mint marks. In 1964, nickels were minted in both Philadelphia and Denver. The Denver Mint coins have a small D mint mark on the right side of Monticello. But that year also saw the beginning of a freeze on changing coin dates. The Mint kept producing 1964 dated nickels even into 1965 and beyond, which led to some interesting mix-ups and inconsistencies. Certain transitional errors and varieties have been discovered from this period, and collectors are still finding new surprises and rolls in collections today. Another rare variation to look out for is the proof-like strike. While no official proof nickels were minted for general circulation in 1964, some coins struck early with fresh dies can appear highly reflective, almost like a proof. These proof-like examples are scarce and prized by collectors, especially when combined with full steps and mint errors. But let's get to the heart of why we're all here, the value. Because while most 1964 nickels may only be worth face value or a small premium, the rarest examples, those in near-perfect condition, with full steps, uncirculated shine, and unique mint errors, can command jaw-dropping prices at auction. Imagine this. A coin that once rattled around in someone's pocket, maybe spent on a soda or dropped in a jukebox, now sitting in a collector's showcase, worth more than most people's cars. One of the rarest 1964 5-cent coins ever discovered. Featuring immaculate full steps and struck in virtually flawless condition, has been valued at an unbelievable $76,000. Yes, you heard that right. $76,000 for a nickel. And that's not a myth. It's a documented reality for the lucky few who've discovered this elusive beauty in the wild. So, what does this mean for you? It means that every time you look through an old coin jar or search through a roll of nickels, you could be holding history and a small fortune in your hand. Keep your eyes sharp, your magnifier handy, and never underestimate the humble Jefferson Nickel. Top 3. We're about to explore a little piece of American history that could be sitting in your change jar right now. The 1972 United States of America 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson Nickel. Now, most people see a nickel and think 5 cents. Simple, right? But coin collectors know better. Every now and then, a seemingly ordinary coin turns out to be an extraordinary discovery. And the 1972 nickel is one of those unexpected treasures that has the power to surprise even the most experienced numismatist. Let's start with a little background. By 1972, the Jefferson nickel had been in circulation for over 3 decades. First introduced in 1938, this coin replaced the Buffalo nickel and featured a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and his famous home, Monticello, on the back. These designs stayed mostly unchanged for years, but hidden within the millions of nickels minted in 1972 are some variations and minting mistakes that have made collectors' hearts race. You might be thinking, with so many 1972 nickels out there, how could one be rare or valuable? The answer lies in the details. Not every 1972 nickel is valuable, but certain ones, with the right combination of condition, rarity, and error, are worth far more than their face value. Let's dive into what makes these coins so special. First, let's talk about mint marks. In 1972, nickels were minted in Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with a small d, and San Francisco with an S. Most coins from these mints were struck correctly, but during the high-speed production process, mistakes happened. And it's those mistakes that make all the difference. One of the most sought-after errors in 1972 nickels is the double die, when the coin is struck twice, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. This can often be seen in the words "Liberty," "In God We Trust," or even in the date itself. These doubling errors are extremely rare, and when found in excellent condition, they become highly desirable to collectors. Another highly collectible variety is the full steps designation on the reverse side of the coin. The Monticello building has a staircase leading up to it, and on most coins, those steps appear blurred or incomplete due to weak striking. However, on a few exceptional 1972 nickels, those steps appear crisp, clear, and fully defined. These are known as full steps Jefferson nickels, and they are far rarer than you might think, especially in high grades. For a coin to be labeled full steps, the lines of each step must be visible and unbroken. It takes a perfectly struck coin to achieve this, which makes it a true prize for any collector. Then there are the off-center strikes, where the design is misaligned due to a mistake during the minting process. Depending on how extreme the misalignment is, these coins can be considered major mint errors and are worth significantly more than a normal example. The further off-center the strike is, without losing too much of the design, the more valuable the coin becomes. We also can't forget about the wrong planchet errors, where a nickel is accidentally struck on a coin blank intended for a different denomination, like a penny or even a foreign coin. These are among the rarest errors and are extremely valuable to collectors who specialize in unique and oddball pieces. So, what should you be looking for if you come across a 1972 nickel? Check the date and look for any doubling. Examine Monticello and see if you can count the steps, 5 or 6 clean, uninterrupted steps is a great sign. Look closely at the edges and alignment of the coin. Does anything seem off? And of course, check for condition. The better the state of preservation, the higher the value. Now, you might be wondering, how much can one of these rare nickels actually be worth? Well, while most 1972 nickels in average condition might fetch only a small premium, there are a few incredibly rare examples, especially those with full steps, major errors, and pristine condition, that have sold for jaw-dropping prices at auction. And here's the big reveal point: one of the most extraordinary 1972 Jefferson nickels ever discovered, featuring full steps and a rare mint error in nearly flawless condition, has been valued at an incredible $73,000. Yes, $73,000. For a 5-cent coin that might have once been sitting in someone's pocket, forgotten in a drawer, or tossed in a coin jar. Before you pass over that nickel, before you give it away as just another piece of change, take a second look. That simple little coin might just be your golden ticket. Top 4, we're uncovering the fascinating story behind one of the most overlooked coins in American currency history, the 1984 United States of America 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson Nickel. Now, before you brush this off as just another everyday coin, let me stop you right there. Because what you're about to hear might just change the way you look at that small silver-colored coin that you've probably seen countless times. The 1984 Jefferson Nickel may appear common, but in the right condition, with the right error, and under the right circumstances, it can be worth a small fortune. And believe me, you're going to want to listen to this very carefully. Let's rewind to 1984, a year of big hair, cassette tapes, and Ronald Reagan in the White House. It was a time of transition, culture, and change in America. And while the country was moving forward, the U.S. Mint was busy churning out millions of coins, including the Jefferson Nickel. This coin had been in use since 1938 and was showing no signs of retirement. But here's the thing. In 1984, among the hundreds of millions of nickels struck, a handful came out, different. And it's those different ones, those rare errors, those special varieties, those coins in jaw-dropping condition, that have sent waves through the collector world. Let's start with the basics. The obverse, or front, of the 1984 nickel features the familiar profile of Thomas Jefferson. It's a classic portrait, stoic, strong, and unchanged for decades. The reverse, or back, shows his famous estate, Monticello, with its dome, columns, and front steps leading up to the entrance. Now, on most nickels, those steps are faint, worn, or incomplete. But every once in a while, a 1984 nickel turns up with every single step sharply struck, crisp, and clearly defined. These are known in the collecting world as full steps nickels, and they are rare, especially from this year. So why are full steps such a big deal? Because striking a coin perfectly is difficult. Dies wear down quickly, especially with the mass production speeds used by the mint. When you find a coin with perfect full steps, it means it was one of the very first struck with a fresh die, under perfect pressure, and somehow survived decades without getting scratched, nicked, or worn. That's like finding a classic car in brand new condition, still with the factory plastic on the seats. It's rare, and collectors go wild for it. But it doesn't stop there. Some 1984 nickels were struck with dramatic mint errors, and these are where things get truly exciting. Imagine finding a coin with a double die, where part of the image or lettering appears twice, slightly offset, due to a misalignment in the minting process. This could happen in the date, in the word Liberty, or even in Jefferson's eye or hairline. These kinds of doubling errors are incredibly collectible and often extremely valuable. Other errors to look for include off-center strikes, where the design is not properly centered on the coin. Depending on how far off the strike is, these coins can become rare collector's items. There's also the possibility of a coin being struck on the wrong planchet, a blank mint for another denomination, like a penny or even a foreign coin. These are known as wrong planchet errors, and they are among the rarest and most expensive mistakes in all of coin collecting. And let's not forget the die cracks, clipped planchets, or misaligned dies, all of which add to the value and uniqueness of a coin. When you combine one of these rare minting errors with high-grade condition and full steps, you're not just looking at a piece of money, you're looking at a piece of history that could be worth thousands. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Most 1984 nickels, the ones you find in pocket change or in circulation, might only be worth 5 cents, or a small premium if they're in decent shape. But those rare examples, the ones with full steps, rare errors, and pristine surfaces, have turned up in auctions and private sales for prices that would blow your mind. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, one rare, high-grade 1984 Jefferson Nickel, featuring a full steps reverse, flawless condition, and a striking mint error, has been valued at a jaw-dropping $70,000. That's right, $70,000. For a 5-cent coin. Just imagine finding one of these hidden treasures in a jar of old coins or at the bottom of a drawer where it's been sitting for decades. That's the magic of coin collecting. That's the thrill. And it's exactly why we make videos like this, to help you spot the extraordinary in the ordinary. So don't overlook that nickel. Check it carefully. Look at the steps. Examine the date. Study the strike. Because your next big discovery might be one of the rarest Jefferson nickels in existence. Top 5, we're diving into a year that most people wouldn't give a second thought to, 1989. But trust me, after this video, you'll never look at a 1989 Jefferson nickel the same way again. Now, let's set the scene. The year was 1989. The Berlin Wall was falling, the world was changing, and in the United States, the mint was busy producing billions of coins to meet growing demand. Among these was the humble 5-cent coin featuring none other than Thomas Jefferson. A coin most of us have held dozens, maybe hundreds of times. But what if I told you that one small detail, one tiny error, or one perfect strike could turn this common coin into a jackpot for collectors? That's right. While millions of these coins were minted, only a select few have that perfect combination of rarity, condition, and error that makes them extremely valuable today. And we're going to break it all down for you right here. First, let's take a closer look at the coin itself. On the front, or obverse, you'll see the familiar side profile of President Thomas Jefferson, facing left, with the word Liberty and the date 1989 stamped beside him. On the back, or reverse, you'll find Monticello, Jefferson's stately Virginia home, with the words E pluribus unum, United States of America, and 5 cents circling the edges. So far, it sounds like any other nickel, right? But here's where it gets interesting. Not all 1989 nickels are created equal. Most were struck in Philadelphia and Denver, marked either with a P or a D mint mark. But under high-speed production, the U.S. Mint inevitably produces a small number of coins with errors, and that's where serious collectors start paying attention. One of the most sought-after features in any Jefferson nickel is what's called the full steps designation. This refers to the staircase leading up to Monticello on the reverse side. For a coin to earn this label, all 5 or 6 steps must be visible, sharp, and unbroken. That may sound easy, but due to worn-out dies, misalignment, and weak strikes, most coins fail this test. A 1989 nickel with full steps in high grade is already rare, but that's just the beginning. Some of the most exciting 1989 nickels ever discovered had double die errors. Imagine this. The coin gets struck, and due to a die misalignment, the image is pressed twice, causing doubled letters, dates, or features. On a Jefferson nickel, this doubling can often be found in Liberty, the date, or even Jefferson's eye and hair. These are considered dramatic and highly valuable errors. Then there are the off-center strikes, where the entire design is shifted too far in one direction. These coins may show a crescent of blank metal on one side and a squished design on the other. Depending on the percentage of off-center misalignment, these coins can range from being mildly interesting to extremely rare. Another gem to watch out for is the clipped planchet error, where part of the coin is missing due to a misfeed during blank cutting. This gives the coin a bite taken out of it, instantly catching the eye of collectors. And for those truly lucky few, there's always the chance of finding a wrong planchet error, where a 5-cent design is mistakenly struck on a blank intended for another denomination, like a penny or even a foreign coin. These types of errors are incredibly rare and can fetch jaw-dropping sums when authenticated, but let's not forget that condition matters, big time. A worn-out coin that's been tossed around for years won't be worth much, even with a minor error. But a pristine coin that has never been circulated, one that's been stored safely in a collector's album or found inside an old mint roll, can be worth exponentially more. These are known as uncirculated or mint-state coins, and when combined with a rare error, they enter an entirely different value tier. So how do you know if you found something special? Get yourself a good magnifying glass or loupe. Study every detail of the coin. Look at Jefferson's eye, the steps of Monticello, the edges, the rims, the lettering. Check for doubling, missing parts, off-center designs, or anything unusual. And if you find something that stands out, it's time to get it professionally graded. That's how you unlock the true value of a rare coin. Now here comes the moment you've been waiting for. One particular 1989 5-cent coin, in exceptional mint state condition, with a dramatic and extremely rare double die error and verified full steps on the reverse, was evaluated and valued at an astounding $67,000. Yes, you heard that correctly, $67,000. For a nickel, a small, unassuming coin that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. So, the next time you go through your change or open up a forgotten coin jar, don't overlook those old nickels. That little 1989 Jefferson nickel in your hand might just be the next big treasure. If you enjoyed this story and want to keep exploring the fascinating world of rare coins, give this video a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. There are coins out there worth thousands just waiting to be discovered. Maybe one of them is already in your collection. Thanks for watching, stay curious, and as always, happy collecting!